Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Good morning. So I'm going to go back over some of the things that I've been doing videos on for a while. Well, I am Muslim and I will tell the truth about Islam in America, which has been here since the beginning. There's other truths about America that need to be revealed. Just like Lyndon B. Johnson and Mr. Farrakhan both said, if you teach the poor white man to hate black people and then teach them that there's superior over those same people in the same economic situation and the same oppression, that they'll believe it. Again, part of the reason our country is in the situation it is today is simply because the people in the Confederacy were not punished for the treason that they committed. Similar to the January 6ers, President Trump and all the people, Lieutenant Colonel Gabbard was found to be a Russian asset. She should have been punished for treason immediately. She should not be allowed to prosecute, chase, or do anything about treason to anybody else because she's treasonous. We look at our Secretary of Defense, and he's a womanizer, a rapist, and an alcoholic. He was a NCO and a shitty one, from what I understand. He shouldn't be where he's at. And because he's a Nazi, probably shouldn't be anywhere in government. And what he's done so far, kind of treasonous, because he's put up an Israeli flag with the American flag for Israel on an equal footing as America. The problem with America at this point, besides all the 400, 250 years of oppression and everything to anybody who was not at one point middle class and above, and now upper class in an oppression. The problem is many poorer white people, and I'm not talking about Caucasians, poorer white people fail to understand that they're in the same exact situation as the people that they hate. And they're not there because of the people they hate. They're there because that's the way the system is set up. You're to be the laborer. You're to be the one who does everything. Instead, the highest percentage of users of food stamps are Caucasian or whites. The highest percentage of people who use any type of welfare is whites. So you can't say that people came in and they were illegals and they were allowed to vote, they were allowed to get food stamps, and that's a lie. A lot of people who are on food stamps and don't have a social security card at this point are actually refugees from places that we bombed, or just like the translator they're trying to send back, who helped the Americans in Afghanistan and Iraq. Their family and them were brought here for the safety of their lives, and now our government's trying to send them back, knowing that they're ultimately going to face death. We cannot look at what we have in America today and see what the president is doing and see any justification in what we're doing. You can't say that we're a society of laws, and the person leading us has 34 felony convictions with 68 cases still to come. Can't have a place of law when most of our lawmakers are criminals in some form or fashion. We want to look at everything that's going on in the world, and we keep talking about Donald Trump signed a presidential whatever. These are not laws. The only thing that becomes laws are things that our government, the Congress and the Senate, vote and become laws. These are things that Trump wants to do. We are not in the military. We do not have to find. They're not orders that we have to follow. They are presidential edicts on what he thinks should be done. They are not laws. They are simply statements. That's it. The only people that they really, really, really legally pertain to are those that want to follow it, and they're doing it willingly. You cannot look at today's society and blame people of color, blame people who are, we want to look at Gregory Abbott, the governor of Texas, who was on a plane the other day moving his legs freely with no help from his hands or anybody else, who says he's you know, paralyzed from the waist down. DEI work for veterans, women fail to realize that, up until the 80s, they were paid less than men for the same exact job. They were often forced to work at home and not go get jobs while their families starved because the husband was abusive and nobody would hire him. So you have the veterans, disabled people, you have people of color, and you have women. The reality is had we not spent 250 years telling everybody that African Americans were not humans, we wouldn't have needed to prove that they were equal as human beings. If Africa was so backwards, this is something I'm running over the time. All the movies show Africans running around in loincloths and chest covering. A lot of the places, 80% of the people who came to this country as slaves were Muslims. If they could read or write, they send them back. And if Africa, they weren't running around naked. They were Muslim, they were Christian, they were Jews, especially in like Somalia, Ethiopia, which was Abyssinia. You got the people who came from the West Coast of Ghana. They definitely were Muslim and Christian. They weren't running around like that. This was their underclothes, and they were stripped of their clothes and put on a ship. And then somebody brought up a good point. How come we don't know any of the names of these ships? They teach us about the Mayflower, which essentially was was a form of genocide or attempted genocide on the indigenous population that welcomed them to help them. So you can't say that Africans were backwards and this and that, but you stolen all their stuff and put them in your museum to show the things they did. You can't go to Sudan and go to all these places and say, "Oh my God, look at these cities." You can't go to where Mansa Musa was and look at the city that he built and say that they were backwards. The only people who were backwards were Europeans. And in 960, they were still fighting together over land and should they reunite with one another. They ate with their animals. They slept with their animals. Like literally, if you read the history, their house to be built. Half of it was a barn, and half of it was humans. They were living in the feces of their animals and eating, whatever they could find. These, if you want to look at civilizations, the European civilization is far behind everybody else's civilization. They talk about how bad China is, how bad Korea is, how bad all these countries are, and they're far more advanced than we are. We have to rethink the way we look at things, and we have to rethink the way we evaluate things. Because what we've been told in America is a lie. Have a good day.